What's up everyone, Master Fox here today. I know I haven't made a video in a while, and this video is actually supposed to go up way sooner than now, but anyways, I'm making it now. Granted, the format has likely taken up some sort of shape with tournaments having already happened over the past month, but I haven't really followed the scene at all, so the outlook will still be fresh, I hope. And anyways, I recorded this a while ago, so you guys can see whether I'm right or not about these thoughts. I don't know what exactly is going on in the game right now, so these thoughts I recorded some time ago might be very, very wrong or maybe dead on, I don't know. The only thing I really know is what's different now is that Monarchs are actually opting for a extra deck build over the domain build, which I guess is actually pretty interesting. Anyways, here were my thoughts. As a corollary to the November 2015 metagame analysis, I want to take a look at this format and look at what it holds for us. Where do I begin? There's so much to cover and talk about. The future is hard to predict, but let's start with the past and try to predict the future from there. And where else is a more logical place to begin than with Pepe and Draco Pals? Looking at the ban list, they've obviously kept up with the hits from February, and looking at these hits, we know that Pepe is probably dead as a deck. As a result, I believe that overall the deck won't be that viable, forcing us onto the next event, which is Draco Pals. Now, unfortunately, for these players, their deck was not left untouched either. Draco Pals took significant hits as well, to the point where people are assuming that the deck is dead at the competitive level. But this may not necessarily be so. The deck is a very versatile one that's able to adapt to many different situations, and despite their hits on the ban list, I can definitely see them taking maybe 10% or so of the tops as a tier 2 deck. These pendulum decks aren't going anywhere for sure, they just have so many options that they can take up and incorporate into the deck that they just won't likely be able to be taken out of the competitive scene just with a few hits that we see in the ban list. But will it be the behemoth of the tournament dominance as they were in the previous format? Probably not. With that out of the way, what do I think will be the true power deck to face? Well, in my opinion, it's none other than PK Fire. The deck, having only existed for a brief amount of time near the end of the previous format, has managed to take a substantial number of tops, and with the biggest dog out of the way, PK Fire is poised to take the stage as likely the most powerful deck in the meta. Whatever is scrounged up from the scraps of Draco Pals forming the new Pendulum deck will likely be unable to deal with the PK Fire deck very effectively. Given that PK Fire has come off of the new ban list unscathed, it will easily rise up through to the top. A quick analysis of the matchups that it may face shows general favorability. We already mentioned Pendulum, so that's a check. As for Cosmos, they can be difficult, but PK Fire is more consistent than Cosmo, and add F0 to that, and the untargetable ships aren't too problematic for the deck to deal with. Of the big decks, only Monarchs are truly an unfavorable matchup, but that's where the side deck will come in handy. The last point I want to make about PK Fire, though, is that with Winter Blossom on the horizon, people are worried about the contention of the deck, given that Cosmo can drop a Winter Blossom to banish all copies of Breaksword or Dante. True, this can be game-ending, but time will tell whether that single card is enough to determine what I believe to be the best deck at the format. Let's keep moving forward, though, to the next meta threat, Cosmo. They've got some new toys recently, but nothing really solves the inherent problems of the deck. They definitely make the deck more powerful, though, with cards like Dark Lady that make the Monarch matchup much easier because you can counter cards like Adea in the first turn. Additionally, Cosmorning helps out against PK Fire. These alleviate many of their hardest matchups. The last card that could make an impact is Dark Planet, which can be very devastating first turn against decks like Monarchs, one of the hardest matchups for Cosmos. But overall, Dark Planet is probably not going to be a meta-defining card. At least that's what I'm predicting. People think that Cosmos are set to be the best deck post-Shining Victory support, but I think I would still put PK Fire above them. There is one wild card that people are talking about will be very supportive to Cosmos, and that's Fire King Island. There's a separate build for that. I think that's a good turbo build, but time will tell whether that takes over the Tin Can turbo build or not. The question, though, is, are Cosmos above Monarchs now? That's hard to say, but if I had to pick one, I would have to say that Monarchs are still better. While Shining Victories didn't help with the Cosmo matchup for Monarchs, or their bricking problems either, Monarchs inherently have an advantage against Cosmos, and there's nothing that has really changed about that inherent advantage. The matchup largely remains the same as before, as the only card that's really relevant that is new in this matchup that's likely to even come up is probably Dark Lady. Monarchs have begun to adapt to the linear counterplay against Adea though, opting to use Mithras, which are immune to most counter cards. Dark Lady can actually stop Mithra though, as she uses the chain, but the advantage is Mithra doesn't require the normal summon investment. There are other engines though that would likely be immune to Dark Lady against Monarchs, like the Super Quantum engine, and so those would pose threats to Cosmos still. To sum up though, overall I see PK Fire as the best deck by a clear margin. What's following them will be likely Monarchs and Cosmos duking it out for second place. And then following these two will likely be the other random decks that you'll see, probably some of the Pendulum deck variants, and maybe Mermail if they're still alive as a deck. But that pretty much sums up my entire outlook for this format. We'll see when the time comes. That's it for this video. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you.